Right before we jump into this video, if you'd like me to send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations, just look for this orange box over on froknowsphoto.com, put your name, email address in it, hit send it. I'm going to send you that guide for free. Jared Polin, froknowsphoto.com, and this is a review of the Sony 28 to 70 millimeter f2. That is right, this is a straight f2, and it is the first Sony lens that has a constant aperture of f2 throughout the range. Now, if you're saying, doesn't Canon have a lens like this? Well, the answer to that is why, yes, yes they do. And this is it. It came out 6 years ago when Canon launched the RF system and the R cameras, and this is the lens that switched me from using Sony to using Canon. So I know a lot of people are gonna say, will this lens make me switch back? And I will answer that at the end of this video. But before we do that, let's tell you what I shot and what I shot with. I used the brand new Sony A1 II because this is a Pros Pro lens. Because of the price of this and because of what this lens offers, not everybody needs it or is going to want it or be able to afford it, and that's perfectly fine. But I loved using it on the A1 II. It's gonna work great on the A9 III, and it's gonna work great across the board if you want a lens like this. So what did I photograph? I used it out in the park to photograph a kid. I took it over to Pizzeria to photograph Joe Badia to get some portraits of him. I took it out to the Ren Fair, and I also took it out to photograph some college basketball. So I put this lens through its paces in the short amount of time that I've had it. But now let's talk about the outside of the lens. This is the 28 to 70 f2. To zoom it, you literally have a really easy, smooth zoom throw to go from 28 to 70. It is nice. It feels great in the hands. I'll tell you about the weight in just a second because I want to talk about the buttons. You've got your custom buttons over on the side. You have your autofocus to manual. You have an iris switch so that you can move the iris. It can be click or declicked when you want to move that. I still don't know why anybody is going to control the aperture from here, but they also have an option for smooth and tight. If you switch it to tight, it makes it harder to zoom, and I am not a fan of that. I want to get through the zoom range as quickly as possible when I'm shooting. The only time you would want to go tight is if you're like, you know what, I wanted to keep this at 50 millimeters and nothing else, and I don't want to accidentally change it. So I personally just leave it on smooth, and that is how you make the transition. Now, in terms of filter size, it is an 86 millimeter filter thread. That is pretty large, but keep in mind that Canon's is a 95 millimeter filter thread. In terms of weight, this is 36% lighter than Canon's chode of a lens right here, and it's 1+ pound lighter. So in terms of weight, the Sony weighs in at 2.02 pounds or 918 grams, whereas the Canon weighs 3.15 pounds or 1,430 grams. Yes, this is bigger. Yes, this is heavier. It's also 6 years older. Is Canon gonna come out with a second generation of this that's gonna be lighter, more like the Sony? I'm not sure. Is Canon gonna come out with a 24 to 70 f2, which is gonna be like, hey, I'm 28 and it took me 6 years to come out, but hey, we're gonna come out with a 24 to 70. Now, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but remember when Sony Alpha Rumors for the last year has been saying that Sony is gonna be coming out with a 24 to 70 f2? Yeah, they were wrong. It's a 28 to 70 f2, clearly, because I have it right here. One thing I want to point out on the lens hood is you do have a filter door here. So you move this out of the way. If you have an ND filter on here or a variable ND, it just allows you to put your finger in here and move it around like this and change the ND filter while still using your lens hood. That is a great thing to have, and it is nice to see that they added it here, especially when you're shooting at f2, because when you're shooting at f2, you're gonna have to bump that shutter speed higher to compensate for letting so much light in. So keep that in mind. Let me break out the 28 to 70 f2 from Canon right here, just to give you guys a side-by-side comparison. I have used this lens extensively for the past couple of years and absolutely love it. Here's the front look. You can see the difference in size is insane. Side look, it is so much thicker and chodier that's insane as well, and over a pound heavier. So if you're trying to decide between which system to go with and the 28 to 70 is your deciding factor, I find it hard to not go with the lighter one. But of course, it depends on what system you're with, and I don't think anybody is switching systems to jump from one to the other just because Sony came out with this lens and that's all they were waiting for when Canon already had it right here. Now, in terms of focus motors, the focus is fantastic. You've got 4 XD linear motors in this, as well as 11 blades for your aperture. All right, let's jump into the photos, starting with St. Joe's University, where I was asked to photograph the senior pictures of just the seniors coming out onto the field. Now, I used the 28 to 70, and you'll notice that with this picture, I took it at f3.5. You're like, whoa, but Jared, you have an f2. Yeah, but when I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in a shot, if I shot it at f2 and focused on the center person, the people on the edges might be out of focus. So for this case, I went to f3.5, and that is just what it is. But you can see, where did I shoot this one? I shot this one at 39 millimeters, not even full wide. But when I'm using the f2 lens, I'm generally shooting at f2. It's a great run and gun lens. Whether you're shooting concerts in the pit, photojournalist type work, following someone around, capturing street type images. It's the only lens that I took to Paris a couple years ago on the Canon R8. I took the 28 to 70 f2. The reason is you basically are replacing a bunch of primes. Yes, you're not getting a 1.4 or a 1.8 or a 1.2, but I like the versatility of having the zoom. Let me cut in here real quick and let you know that this video is brought to you by B&H and their PayBoo credit card, where you pay the tax and B&H pays you back instantly for the same amount. I know, it's crazy, but it really does work because I've done it myself. Now, I'm very selective when it comes to applying for new credit cards, but since I was making a huge $14,000 purchase and stood to save over $800, it was kind of a no-brainer to apply for the card and in a matter of minutes get approved and start saving all of that tax. Now, in case you're wondering, I bought 36 new hard drives for the new server that we're building here at the studio. Now, there's 2 ways that you can save. You pay the tax and B&H pays you back instantly, or 2, you can get 12-month special financing on purchases of $599 or more. That means if you grab the new 28 to 70 f2 and the A12 along with a few accessories, you're looking at roughly $10,000, which means you stand to save a couple of $100 in tax just by using your PayBoo card. And don't forget, it's not just cameras. It's on everything B&H has to offer. Remember to always charge responsibly.
Low on cash, but still need to get your boo? Don't worry.
For more information and to apply for your PayBoo card right now, head on over to the link on the screen or down below in the description. I called a prime zoom because you're basically replacing a 28, a 35, a 50. You're not quite replacing an 85, but you have the 70 millimeters. You can do some damage with this lens. So that's why I took it out to the park, photographed the kid. Here we are at 70 millimeters at f2, and I am tack sharp on the eyeball right here. Beautifully tack sharp on the kid's right eye. The colors are gorgeous. The sharpness is unparalleled. Sony did a fantastic job with the sharpness. The focus is silent. The focus is fast because of those 4 XD linear motors. It's like you never see it even focusing because it is blazing, especially when you put it on the A12, you put it on the A9 III, you put it on the A7 R5, anything with the latest AI processor. But that's not to say that this isn't going to be fantastic on all systems or on all E-mount cameras, because it is going to work. And the fact that it's 36% lighter than that Canon is a true win right there. So continuing on with the kid in the park who likes to live dangerously by riding his little bike over the concrete walls with all of the anti-skateboarding rails, because they don't want skateboarding kids there. The black and white is gorgeous. The tones are fantastic. The sharpness, like I said, is unparalleled. It is an exquisite lens. One of the best lenses I've ever used on the Sony system. It's up there with the 51.2, which is an awesome lens. All right, let's jump out to the Renaissance Fair. I spent some time out at the Renaissance Fair. I usually go there to test out some lenses. And this is my buddy Troy, who was making pretend that he was taking a selfie while being burnt at the stake. Not the greatest photo in the world, but just thought that would be fun to show you Troy being burnt at the stake. I next ran into Jareth, I believe is what they said the name of David Bowie's character was in Labyrinth. Do you remember, Steven? No, Steven doesn't remember. I love Labyrinth. Labyrinth was a great movie, and this person's costume is awesome. They were holding out their crystal ball, so I made sure to focus on their eye. I used the IAF of the camera, beautiful, tack sharp, right where it needs to be, and then I wanted to focus on the ball, the reflection in the ball, the portrait, and was able to do that. But look at how the subject dissipates. That's what we're getting with that f2. It just is beautiful. You know what you're gonna get. It is absolutely beautiful. And one of my favorite things at the Renaissance Fair is the people that have the Falcons. They were walking around to promote their show, and I'm like, all right, let's focus in on the Falcon at 28 millimeters, and it is tack sharp at f2, and you can see how the handler is softly out of focus. This is one of the best photojournalistic lenses that you can ever imagine. Sure, it doesn't go to 24. You do have the option, right? You can go with a 24 to 70 2.8 that Sony makes. It's a smaller lens, smaller than this. This is actually the 24 to 70 version 1. Just to give you an example of size difference, it's very similar in size to the brand new 28 to 70. So Sony did a great job shrinking this lens down and making it more compact as well as light. Is that a reason that they didn't go to 24 to 70 f2? If they went to 24 to 70 f2, I'd be on the phone right now with Canon being like, Canon, where's your 24 to 70 f2? Because Sony just one-upped you. That's what I would be saying. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. So we carry on. One of the things that you do at the Renaissance Fair is you notice that there's a lot of people that dress up like pixies and fairies and Ghostbusters and whatever they want to be. And this girl just looked great. And just the way that the light was hitting her really was awesome. So I asked her for a quick portrait. Don't be afraid to walk up to people. When they're dressed up, they want to get pictures taken. So take their picture, offer to send it to them later, and then get the shot and call it a day. But just beautiful colors and tones, beautiful sharpness, beautiful rendering. I really can't say more good things about this lens. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you our custom Lightroom presets in action on this cute dog right here, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn. We've got C41, Copper Tone, which looks awesome, DeLorean, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, Tintype, and Wet Hot American Summer. And my all-time favorite from FroPack 1, with one click, we've got Skittles, and it goes boom. But all new and exclusive to FroPack 4, we have 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eye Only Enhance, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or you're just tired of other people's presets sucking, as you can see, our presets do not suck. That's why we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at fronosphoto.com/FroPack4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FroPack 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course my favorite Skittles, you can save even more. Now, let's get back to the video. Moving over to the Pizzeria shop, wanted to get some shots of Joe here at 28 millimeters to show you what you get. 28 millimeters at f2, 1/160th of a second. He is perfectly sharp, gorgeous, and the background goes nice and soft. The closer you get to your subject at 28 millimeters, the more the background's gonna dissipate. In this case, I step back just a bit, and so that's why the background isn't fully bokeh-y and blown out. Now, I also think this lens is going to be good out at a basketball game. If you are down low and you're sitting right on the floor, this is going to be fast enough to keep up with tracking the subjects and shoot at 120 frames per second on the cameras that can shoot at 120 frames per second. This will beyond keep up with it and do a great job. It's not the most ideal basketball lens, but having an f2 versus someone with a 2.8 separates you from them. That is the reason you spend the extra money to get something like this in the professional realm, is to separate you from everybody else. And that is what this lens does. And that's why it is one of the best lenses that Sony has ever made. It can keep up with the action. Just like this, we see the guy driving to the basket. It keeps up, it fires, it's accurate, and it is always on. So it gets a tremendous A+ for me in that situation. So what does this lens cost? Well, it's a $2,900 lens. So the lens is priced very comparably to what the Canon lens is priced at. Of course, it depends on when it's on sale and what rebates are going on, but it's very similar in price. But I do need to sniff it, and I do need to blow it and give it the wind tunnel test. Let's start with blowing it. We're gonna huff and puff and see how it does. Whoa. I've never seen something pass it so good. What an amazing wind tunnel test. Now let's sniff it. Oh, rainbows, butterflies, and Subaru Outbacks. It smells like a winner. So who is this lens for? If you're a working pro and you want to separate yourself from everybody else and you can afford it, you buy this lens. You get rid of your 24-70 2.8s, whatever they are, sell them to someone else who could use those, because for most people, a 24-70 2.8, exquisite. Sony's 24-70 2.8 is like $2,200, $2,300, and so you have to decide, is it worth spending $400, $500, $600, $700 extra dollars to get this lens instead? For me, as a working professional, the answer is 100% yes. If you're not a full-time working professional, the results you get from a 24-70 2.8 have been fantastic for 20 years. They're still going to be fantastic. But when you want to start to nitpick and split hairs, and you want to separate yourself from everybody else as a pro, you get this bad boy right here. The big question that I posed at the beginning is, am I switching back to Sony now that they have this 28-70? And the answer to that is no. I'm not switching back to Sony. I still enjoy the Canon system quite a lot because of other lenses like a 10-20 f4, a 100-300 2.8, an 85 1.2, unique lenses that help me stand out. Is this smaller, lighter, faster, probably a little better than the Canon 28-70? Yeah. But have I ever had issues with this lens, with missing focus? No. Have I gotten great results through the years with this lens? 100% yes. Will Canon update it? I hope so. I hope they go to 24-70 f2. That would be awesome, and I'll be first in line to get it. And that's it, guys. What would you do? Let me know down below. 24-70, 28-70. Would you switch from Canon back to Sony? The answer to that's no. You're not going to switch. If you do switch, you shouldn't switch. That's where I'm going to leave it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin, photoshoot.com. See ya.